Old-fashioned marketing scene 2, take 1.
I like it. After you.
Oh, thank you.
I think she's sweeter. I think she's sweeter than you.
You do not.
I do. I agree. Yeah, for sure.
That's ridiculous. Are we rolling?
Yeah.
Oh, on the sweetness debate.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're from Wisconsin, though. Like, you have to, right?
Well, it's in a passive-aggressive way, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, yeah, totally.
Funny
No,
story.
no.
When she first started at Liam D, she had a Wisconsin accent. That's why I was able to tell you were from the Midwest.
Well, we all, yeah. I mean, it still pops out.
Yeah,
every
occasionally.
once in a while. There's
like
certain
3 more
words.
old fashions deep.
Oh,
yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
So did you see the pack? Yeah.
So about this marketing.
Yeah, it's all because the thing to the Wisconsinite accent is it's just an elongation of all the vowels. If you pay attention, table, chair, and it's like a gutter. It's like you know, it's just that with all the vowels is basically the Midwest accent, which I can say because I'm
Midwest.
from there,
makes sense.
You know,
what did you
my
call
best
it?
friends are from the Midwest.
What did you call yourself? Like when you first started marketing, like, what was your brand? Your brand was Midwest Marketing Maven.
No, it was not my brand. No,
bullshit. No. On the website, it was Midwest Marketing Maven. That had more M's than like, what is it? Midwest Marketing Maven. That's like 6 syllables.
You forget that Justin gave us all those nicknames.
What was mine? I don't have a nickname.
I don't remember. I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't remember. But yeah, Justin would give us all of those nicknames because he was in charge of the website. So it was on the website. I acknowledge.
Justin's was like that. And
That's why I was like, honestly, we were so on PC that I don't even want to think about what you gave me.
Offshore resource.
Yeah, I don't know what your nickname was, but I would rather not go there. Well, Raja, we have our food, we have our drinks, a refill. Cheers, bud. Okay, so now we're going to talk about strategy consultants, okay? Because I recall being a young consultant and having a client come to me and say, here's a deck that we were presented by Accenture, and I literally didn't even know what like Accenture or Deloitte or any of those. I like didn't know about the Big Four because I didn't go to an Ivy League school and think I was gonna go work there.
I thought Deloitte was Doolittle, like the like the Eddie Murphy movie, like where they talk to animals. And I was like, what are they giving you strategy from marketing? Like what? And then I learned it was actually not Doolittle, it was Deloitte.
Yeah, that's an amazing tidbit. And so I didn't know what this company was, and they presented to me, so the client comes to me, and they present to me the deck, right? And I'm like, well, this doesn't make any sense. Like, this entire approach is not gonna work for your business because of X, Y, Z. And they were like, it has to work. We paid this company $250,000. And our engagement with them was like $10,000. And I was like, you did what?
Yeah.
Like, what the
and
fuck?
The funny thing about all of those items is that it doesn't change. Like even now, right? Even as like an agency owner, that sticker value shock of getting a PowerPoint presentation that is over 100 slides, which has absolutely no fucking clue what to do or how to implement it with like search. I mean, you could practically search result the top 10 things that you should be doing as a company.
Yeah, you
and
could
copy
chat
and
GPT.
paste it. Yeah.
And
you know, so the strategy consultants and this is like the operations part of me talking. I think there's a place for strategy. We talked about why there's a place for strategy, right? You have to use the strategy that is defined, like when we talked about ABM. But the problem is like these slides, these decks, like in 2024, if you have a 100-point PowerPoint presentation slide on what to do, it doesn't make any sense. Because there's so much technology and how you implement it and action upon it is so vastly different that by the time, and once again, talking from the operations lens, By the time we get that PowerPoint presentation, it's in the trash. Whatever you paid for it, whatever your return is, however cool you think it is irrelevant because you stayed at LeadMD. I decided, hey, you know what? I want to do the enterprise stuff, and I went to the enterprise stuff, and it's the same shit.
Yeah.
Right? You get these presentation slides, and by the time a person like me who's held titles like solutions architect, developer, like technical account lead, whatever bullshit that is, by the time we get our hands on that deck, the first thing is to throw half of it away.
Yeah.
Because it's not actionable. You can't implement it cohesively to align with any type of acumen that the business needs.
Yeah.
So 50% of it is gone, right off the bat.
Yeah, and there's always these like examples that seem like nothing examples, but they're so critical to having a person who understands operation. For example, if you set up a buyer persona and you're gonna say, my best customers are on my website for more than 10 minutes a day, and you're like, I want a lead score on that. That sounds reasonable, but depending on the technology that you're using, I'm looking at you, Marketo, you literally cannot create a rule that gives that. So now you as an operations person have to go back to some fucking strategist and say, hey man, like, I get it. Hey man or lady.
Yeah,
hey human
Yeah.
on the other end of this suggestion. Seems reasonable. I know it's weird, but I literally cannot do this for you.
It's not possible.
Yeah.
And that's
or like now you're buying another technology, and who the fuck wants to hear that, right? Like you just went through a 4-month strategy session with some overpriced consultant to make all of these decisions and understand what technology you'd have to invest in, and then the actual technologist comes in and is like, that's not going to do what you think it is.
Yeah. And that's why you have light versions of all of the strategies, right? It's like, we can't do the strategy that you want, but we will do a watered down version of it because to accommodate the deck, because you've already invested so much money in someone telling you strategically what you should do as a business, right? And that's why we have watered down versions of strategy, right?
Yeah.
You know, like I'm not going to get on a soapbox about RevOps at this moment in time. However,
Because I told him not to.
Yeah, that's true. It's very true. But strategy, I think, is fundamentally one of the it's the most crucial thing for an organization.
Yeah.
However, understanding strategy and contextualizing in a way that it's operational is even more important.
Well,
Remember the quote that we had at LeadMD that was on the wall? Perception is reality. Perception is reality.
Reality or perception. Perception works for me.
I don't have the exact same quote, and I don't have a wall because we're a remote-based business. But one quote that I like.
They only consult from gardens.
Yeah, that's right.
No walls.
No walls at all.
Yeah.
Nothing. Just open air. One quote. Once again, I don't have a wall, but one thing that I tell all my consultants, and when we train consultants, we train them in the traditional sense of to ask the question why. And one of the quotes that is fundamentally resonating with me as a consultant is, vision without execution is a hallucination. And, you know, it's Thomas Edison that said it. I'm not saying it just because of who the person is, but the quote itself has a lot of impactful meaning, is that you can visualize the world, but if you cannot execute on it, it is a fragmented reality.
Yeah, it's fiction.
Yeah, you know, it's people talk about, I will paint you a picture of a unicorn jumping over a rainbow, shedding magical revenue skillets all over your company. And the reality is you're just...
I want those magical money unicorn birds, by the way.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty dope. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, but the reality is you're just tripping on acid, and it's a horse in like jumping over a fence. And we, as operations people, once again, through the operations
You have to
lens,
make that happen.
we have to make that happen. So
Yeah.
we get our paint bucket and we paint this poor horse to whatever weird thing to mix into strategy as we would want, and it doesn't execute. And at the end of the day, people end up losing their jobs. People end up we don't hit our targets, which results in revenue targets not being met, which results in budgets getting hit. And the first hit that happens is marketing, because we said in this 200-point presentation that we are going to make it rain like freaking Nelly back in 2000. And that's not the case. You know, like that's just not going to happen.
So are you saying that the executives are like, it's getting hot in here.
Yeah, no.
What are we going to do? And marketing is like, take off.
We're gonna make it rain revenue and opportunities. And once it gets to the person that's actually like doing all the things, and they're like, this is not feasible.
Do you know what I like about this show? Is that our references are gonna kick the kids right out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like that they're not even gonna know what the fuck we're talking about.
Or
And
who
they're just
Nelly
gonna
is.
unsubscribe. You know,
Yeah.
they're like, nah, I don't know what that is.
I don't even think we have
Nelly?
I don't think we have a subscription set up for it. Do we have? I don't think like you can unsubscribe to something.
You can't unsubscribe from what we're selling you.
Yeah, that's
no,
correct.
We're
Yeah.
just pushing it onto you,
Yeah.
whether you want it or
Yeah,
not. We
this
say
is- like
fuck
this-
Can Spam.
yeah.
You are subscribed.
This isn't a
Yes.
trial. We're not emailing you. It's available on a social website.
Right,
that
you are
generally-
subscribed.
Yeah, you're done at that point. Whether
Yeah,
you choose to listen to it
try
or not.
to get rid of us. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, that's fundamentally the problem with strategists, right?
Wait, so can we just define strategy? Because I really do think
No, I agree.
this is
I
one of
agree.
my biggest
I
fucking
agree.
pet peeves is that people. So there was this point in time at LeadMD where when you asked anyone what their job title was, they would be like, "Well, I'm the strategic lead for," and I would be like, "No, you're not." Like, what are you talking about? Not everyone can be in charge of strategy, but I feel like there's a pressure, and I've even felt this before because I've had someone in my life who said like, "Well, you know, you're not being as strategic as I thought you would be." And I'm like, literally, what does that mean? Like, what kinds of things do you wish that I was doing that you are not seeing from my performance? And it was like, just, you know, more strategy, more high-level thinking. And I was like, what does that mean? Okay, here's a strategy for you. We need to make more money. Let's do that. You know what I mean? Like let's sell different products. Wow, what a strategy. You know what I mean? Like, it's so ridiculous to me when people say shit like that. Like, I'm a strategic consultant. And this is coming from somebody whose current title is marketing strategist, by the way.
Like, what is
Kristen
it?
at the company.
What do you do? There's a lot of influence on what strategy are you going to bring to the table. And in my opinion, and the reason it's not opinion is because strategy is in the space of air, right? It can be whatever you want it to be. Someone would want a very good strategy on how to go to market, but not an idea of how you can execute on it. My version and my definition is that you have to be able to execute on your strategy. So ABM 101, you can execute on that. Right? Like, you can execute strategically on that strategy. Everything else is just a watered down version of stuff that you're doing.
Yeah.
So when you talk about, like, when someone asks you the question, like, well, that's not really strategic. Like, what the fuck is strategic? Like, obviously the end goal is to make more money from a revenue perspective. Like, you want to be able to talk to consumers in a way and say, what is the benefit of you? And what strategy does is that it finds a way to convey that message without saying, please give me your money or my business is going to go under.
Yeah.
Right? And if you have a product that resonates with people, then that's, in my opinion, is what strategy generally is. But it's vague. And it's supposed to be vague. I'm sorry. I don't think it's supposed to be vague. I think it's supposed to be concrete. But it's vague in the sense that, like, anyone can dictate what it is. And that's the biggest problem that we run into from an operations perspective is when it's so broad and so vague, you can't execute on it. How do you make it, like, we talk about GTM, when we talk about go-to-market, how do you go to market, not as a product, not as a business, what is your go-to-market strategy for the strategy that you have been pitching?
Well, because I think, and just like some practical examples of that, right, would be like buyer personas, right? So like a marketing leader might invest with a strategy firm to identify the best customers and then say, we need more like it. Here's what they look like. And what you get is, first of all, some persona with, I almost guarantee, a white man in a tie and a suit, right? Like, everyone wants the executive, and then we all
works at Google.
We all do ourselves no favors by making it just like the stereotypical white man, right? And then the idea of figuring out where that person actually gets their information, none of that is in the deck. None of the, like, they spend this amount of time on Facebook for personal reasons, but you could, if you did these kind of ads, get them in, right? Like, they don't do anything that's that detailed. It's all of this, like, super high level that then trying to tie it back into what operations is attempting, what operations
Attempts,
has to then
not
actually,
attempting, attempts to do.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you only have the data at your disposal. So you're like, well, I have all of these Google profiles. Is he this profile? And they're like, I don't know. I don't know anything about Google profiles. And
Yeah.
it's just like this massive disconnect between people with good intentions and good ideas, but they have no idea how to actually execute it, and they've never been in the trenches before.
And buyer personas is actually a really good example, because when we first started, buyer personas was an actual thing. Now buyer personas is an exercise that is forgotten after it's done. No one, right? Like buyer personas used to mean, and that's actually a really good example of a strategy, is like developing a persona of the ideal candidate that's going to buy your product. And now we're going to do buyer personas, but we're just going to spam people. Spam. We're just going to see how many people do we get inside at the top of the funnel, the middle of the funnel, the left, right, up, down, whatever funnel stage that they're in, because those things are more important. So once again, like I don't think you can define strategy, and that's the biggest problem with it, right? Because strategy is a term that is so vague, but the reality is that what strategies work and don't work when you start implementing them.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the biggest disconnect is from strategists who will paint a picture of how to get money and how to increase revenue and how to hit your targets, to actual people that, to your point, are in the trenches and doing it. I don't think you can have like a cohesive idea of what is a strategy, because strategy could be anything. It could be a go-to-market for specific accounts. It could be products. It could be regional, right? Like your strategy is only to target a specific region. New York has all of these apps that are targeted for these metropolitan areas for bagels and coffee, which is a version of a dating profile, but it's only for those areas.
Yeah.
Because in Arizona, if you're going to meet someone in the summer for bagels and coffee, it's not going to go well. It's like 120 degrees outside, right?
Yeah.
So I think strategy is it's regional. It's marketing always gets a bad rap, is because there's these strategies that people are paying for, and you're spending anywhere between the highest paying strategy deck I've ever seen in my entire life.
That's a good tidbit of information.
Yeah, it was $750,000 for a university. Almost $1 million for a PowerPoint deck that was over 200 slides. You know how much of that I implemented? Not even 5 slides. I implemented lead scoring.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is really like enrollment scoring.
Which is really engagement in the EDU world, because it's how many people are engaged, which ties into how much enrollment that you get.
Yeah.
So someone paid, $750,000 for a PowerPoint slide that, really was just increase enrollments.
Yeah.
And a scoring methodology to monitor engagement, because there are no such things as conversions, right? Like people don't convert on a page.
Yeah.
Like you have to talk to an advisor, and you can't, that's a call. You have to call track that in a way. Like $750,000. But kudos to you, I guess. You got what you wanted, and it's debatable.
Consultancy.
So
I wanted to ask you about, because my theory is that there's like a big S strategy and a small s strategy. So like a big S strategy are things like, we need a new product, right? Like we are saturated and we have about as much market share as we're likely going to get with this kind of a product. So we either need to take over another category as an add-on to this product, or we need to go into another industry which likely needs like a very specific subset of features. Like to me, that's capital S strategy, right? Like we have this percentage of market share. We're looking to do this sort of thing. In order to do that, we're going to need to change our product in these kinds of ways. Here's the pricing that's going to make sense. Here's how we're going to go to market. Like that's, I think, the strategy that I'm constantly looking for from these companies, and I've never seen it, but that's like, to me, capital S strategy should be that. Small s strategy should, I think, be things like tech stack, right? Like where's the tech stack that you're currently investing in? Where are their roadmaps going that you might be able to divest in some of these things? I think the perfect example of that is like Marketo and Drift, right? So many companies we're investing in both, and then Marketo launches their chat guy, and it's like, well, I don't know that we need Drift anymore, right? Like, I think that's a sort of strategic decision that if you have the right kind of consultancy like you you're helping to guide people on how to think about those investments in that way. And also like hiring, like how do you hire the right operations team in order to support what you're trying to do as a business. I think that's strategy too, but I think that because anything that is so pragmatic like that, the true strategists, or they sort of shit on it, that it sort of gets this bad rap, but I think that's where all of the actual value to organizations is, in an actual person that does strategy, but with this expertise that really makes it meaningful.
Well, I mean, it helps on multiple fronts, right? Like, so even a couple of the clients that we worked with is they lost someone. They hired an agency, aka
Oh my God,
us.
what happened to them?
Huh? Oh, well, not lost someone in that sense. Like, they moved
Hello?
on to better.
Hello?
Another.
Where's my marketing automation person?
They just randomly.
Oh my God.
Have you seen that show Lost? That's what happened.
Yeah.
They were on the freaking plane,
Right,
okay?
right,
That's
right,
what
right.
happened. So
yes, yeah, just poof.
yeah,
Gone.
just gone, and they're
Right.
trying to figure out what that weird
Right.
smoke monster is for
Right.
like 90 fucking seasons.
Dude, I had so much hope for Lost.
I did not.
You didn't?
No,
Did
but-
you always think it was going to end poorly?
Yeah, because my wife watches that one show about like following
Huh?
I don't know. It's like this. I don't know. It's some sort of show, but like all the shows are drawn out. They're never gonna end it. It's fine. It's a strategy.
It's yeah. Is it capital S or small S?
Yeah. It's definitely a capital S because they're
Oh,
selling a
We'll
big
keep 'em.
picture,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's not gonna fucking do anything. And then you're at the end of the day, you're gonna be like, "This is what I fucking paid for."
You know why you don't like the end of Lost? The big four consultancies.
Yeah, the big
it's
four
their fault.
consultancies.
That's it. We just figured it out.
What are we talking about?
You lost your marketing automation person.
Yeah, lost the marketing. Thank you. Person off screen who's not drinking old fashions. So they quit. All right, so they didn't lose them. They quit. They
okay.
quit.
Got it. Yeah.
So not only were we responsible for jumping on board, making sure all the stuff was doing, but when they were hiring, we actually were part of the hiring process.
Yeah.
So were they a good fit? And then after the hiring process, we trained them. So we worked ourselves out of that job, and I feel like a good consultancy is open to that.
Totally.
And if you're not, then that's not a good consultancy, because the idea about consultancies and the idea about consultants is to come in, fill a gap that's needed, and hire someone that is the best fit for that company, and then you move to the next company. I'm not a consultant because I want to work for the same company for 3 years, right?
Exactly.
Right? Like I'm
Yeah,
a consultant
totally.
because I like the fact that there's different industries. Like I've worked with manufacturing, I've worked with retail, I've worked with Jenny Craig. They didn't like me very much, but at the same time, like, it's the expansion possibility. I'll tell you why. They didn't like me. So I went to the Jenny Craig office and, I was training them on Marketo and Salesforce and all of that stuff. They had lunch. They had a bag. I opened the bag. It had 4 fucking Cheetos, okay? Like, I'm not a guy, like, that will eat 4 Cheetos. Like, I need a bag of Cheetos. So I ended up eating, like, 10 fucking bags.
I just have
of Cheetos.
I have such a vivid visual of this entire situation.
Yeah. So, they requested me off their account, and kudos to them. Like, I don't think I was the right fit.
No
for that
hard
account.
feelings.
Yeah.
No hard feelings between you and Jenny Craig.
Yeah, and that's consultancy.
I'm sure Jenny appreciates
Yeah,
that. Very big of you.
And that's consultancy. I mean, the fact that I almost ate probably like $2,000.
You ate them out of Cheetos.
$2,000 worth of food at the corporate Jenny Craig building, probably had nothing to do with it. But, the reality is, if you open a bag and there's 4 Cheetos, and you're a guy my size, you're probably going to get like at least 50 other bags.
You know what? Honestly, that's got to be an analogy for so many situations in life. If you are a guy of a certain size and you need something, and you open up a bag and there's only 4 Cheetos in there,
it's not going to happen.
It's not for you.
It's not going to happen.
For you.
Yeah,
Okay? It's okay.
But that's the best part about consulting, right? Like, there's personalities that mesh, and there's personalities that don't mesh.
Yeah.
And you get to move,
And you're never
you get the
stuck.
experience, and you're never stuck.
Well, and the other thing that I think is, I always found this fascinating and super interesting. Actually, I'm going to start that over again. So Gartner, one of the interesting. Am I boring you?
I was just doing a time check. Okay, like they're gonna kick us out.
All right.
As long as we keep ordering drinks, we're good, I guess. But.
Okay, So one of the interesting things that I never really realized while I was in the seat, but Gartner did this research about how one of the things that people appreciate the most when they're being sold to by a SaaS company is when they can bring learnings from other industries to them, and they can learn, okay, this is where D2C is, right? Like D2C retail is innovative and...
Can you explain the acronym, the DTC acronym? Remember, like the whole acronym thing?
I know, she's keeping track, and then we'll do it at the beginning, or we'll do it at the end. Whatever acronyms we use, we'll explain it then.
Okay.
At the end. It's the agreement. See, we're not even doing it. Okay, well, I'll just do it right now.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I'm saying.
Bossing me around. So D2C is direct to consumer. So direct to consumer brands are like super hot, right? It's like Kim Kardashian's shapewear brand and Chubby's and all of these brands that people just really love. They're very innovative. And it's supposed to be tongue in cheek. It's supposed to be very fun. They have a lot of fun colors and great clothes. You should go buy some. But so Chubby's or any Kardashian brand, Good American or Skims, their shapewear brand, like any of those companies are sort of on the cutting edge. People really look up to them as brands. And so I think if you are a SaaS company who can bring learnings from that into something like boring old D2C, or not D2C, boring old B2B, no. B2B is business to business instead of direct to consumer. If you can bring learnings from like what someone perceives as this cool, innovative company into selling accounting software, that is a value add to you as a software rep. And I think the same thing about consulting, which again, I did not realize when we were actually in the trenches, but I think when you look at what SaaS companies are doing, and then you look at manufacturing companies, you can say, hey, here's what these other companies are doing that you might want to consider. And they're like, oh, that's brilliant. And it was the same thing when I came from B2C. Like, part of the reason that I was successful in B2B is because B2B was 8 years behind everything that I had done for 8 years in B2C marketing. And I was like, you guys aren't doing this? You're not literally when I started, nobody was tracking ROI of emails. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I could tell if I sent an email.
We didn't even have programs inside Marketo at that point. We were just running smart campaigns all willy-nilly through folder structures, right?
Yeah, so I think like that value that you have because when you work with a big four company, that person, that group of people, they're only on your account. Yeah. They literally have no exposure that same day to, oh, this is what one of my manufacturing clients did. This is what one of my fintech clients did. This is what's happening in retail right now. Like, you can bring so much additional variety so that people not only just learn about the technology, but they learn about what other people are doing. I think that's dope.
And across technology as well, right? Like,
yeah.
So one of the things I always emphasize, like, you have to, like, in the modern day world of marketing operations, right? You have to be tech agnostic. That mentality is agnostic. Like, what happens if the company decides, we need to cut marketing budget, we want to move from one platform to another. As long as you have the mindset, you can figure it out inside that platform. So it's not only that part, but also the fact that we work with clients across Marketo, HubSpot, whatever MarTech atmosphere, like MarTech technology there is, we work in that. So it's the same thing.
Yeah.
How is a manufacturing company using Marketo versus a manufacturing company that is using HubSpot? Now I'm moving to HubSpot. I'm moving to this other platform. How do I utilize this? Oh, that's cool. Not only do we have the industry acronym, but we also have the technology. Because,
there's nowhere else to find that information. You go to G2 and you read a bunch of people who barely know the technology's assessment of like, yeah, it's great. That's the only technology that they've ever used, right? And so I do think that there's so much value in getting a technology partner who really understands the full ecosystem of what you need and what you can get. And certainly, especially with, all these systems, features are hidden behind certain gates of price points, and then also just negotiation skills and like all of those sorts of things, I think, again, are things you're never going to get from a big firm, but with your knowledge of these and like really relationships that you craft with these companies, like, you understand exactly how to get the most out of them.
Well, that and that's exactly why like we don't emphasize the software. Like, I feel like Marketo as a platform is really good if you have a lot of extended API. Like, if you have to have a lot of details of other things that you have to be doing. Like, well, HubSpot is like a really good platform for up and coming companies that really want to ecosystem of everything that's available and not really have to worry about the operational services.
Yeah.
And then, don't buy Pardot. But like,
Same.
yeah.
Man,
but Marketing Cloud
had
from a
to use that
B2C
as
perspective,
hurdle. Yeah.
like Marketing Cloud is huge from a B2C standpoint,
Right.
right? Like the ability, like we work with Janie and Jack and Yokohama Tires, right? And the stuff that we can do with Marketing Cloud is that we can reference, something as simple as discounts or purchase history dynamically without having to sit there and create an entire process or workflow or flatten field just because it's natively available is huge.
Well, and the thing that has always shocked me is, so I used Eloqua from 2009 to 2011. That is 13 to 15 years ago. And the stuff that I was doing, most B2B marketers still couldn't do. I was creating a geolocation app so that when you walked by a pretzel stand and their pretzels were getting stale, you would be able to turn back around and do it. Can you imagine a B2B company doing that even today? I don't even know what tech stack you would use.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's
and that's why it goes back
nuts.
to the whole strategy part, right? Strategy is so conducive of the company that you're working with. What are their goals? Does their tech stack resonate what their goals are? And can you achieve them with what they're wanting to do? So and that's why I think there's so much gray area between strategy and strategist, is because you can just fucking bullshit it.
Yeah.
But when it comes to and the true idea of what strategy sticks and what doesn't stick, it comes to when you try to implement it. And when you can't implement it, then you just got snake oil salesmen or whatever the hell they did in the Old West.
All the vitamins you could need, right? In that snake oil. One ingredient. Crushed snakes.
That was it.
Yeah,
I
that
think
was
that's
it. Snake oil? Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
to recap, our episode on shitting on strategy consultants.
we're not shit. No, see, that's the thing. That's the thing that I want to make sure we're not shitting on strategy or strategy consultants. I feel like strategy is part of marketing, but it has to make sense.
How diplomatic of you.
Thank you.
I love it.